What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. So yesterday, just a ton of news, a ton of information just kind of dropped on Twitter for Nintendo and Capcom and CES with retro controllers. There was stuff all over the place. So we're going to be going through quite a bit here, and I'm going to kind of work through it maybe a bit quicker, but there's just a lot of stuff to take a look at here. So it's going to be pretty interesting. Like, we had new dates for some games coming out for the Switch, some random third-party support getting announced, another demo for Devil May Cry, a new demo for Resident Evil. So we're just gonna get started here. As always, guys, enjoy these videos, do hit the like button, it does help out. And we're gonna start right away with Yoshi's Crafted World, as that is now been dated. Yeah, it's coming out March 29th. That is around when I figured it would be. They said spring, so I figured it could fall into April. But March at least just gets it in there as, like, probably, I guess, the last game releasing in the fiscal year, right? March 31st is the last day in that fiscal year, so maybe they'll do a final push with Yoshi, just try to get him to the finish line. But Yoshi's Crafted World looks pretty cool, actually. I don't think it's like one of their, big releases. I think it'll fit in there kind of like how Kirby did last year. I think Yoshi really fits in there as kind of like a second tier style game, but it looks like a pretty cool 2D style game, and it appears to be Nintendo's first shot with Unreal Engine as like a first party developer, so it'll be interesting to see the performance and how it looks and everything on the Switch. But yeah, Yoshi's Crafted World, March 29th. We'll see if there's any other information coming to us from Nintendo in a supposed direct, maybe just about this game. We also found out that Kirby's Extra Epic Yarn is also showing up in March. That's actually going to be March 8th, and that is pretty much just, I don't know, I guess that's the next 3DS game to come out. They're not really putting a lot of emphasis on the 3DS anymore. However, if you liked Kirby's Epic Yarn on the Wii, this just looks very much like more like the same, just moved over to the 3DS. That seems like a good series for Kirby to move over, and then, well, there you go. Another Kirby game for the year that's getting released. Also, we had Devil May Cry 5 get a very odd, exclusive demo for the Xbox in December. So last month we had that. I checked it out, and it's actually a pretty cool game from what I'm seeing on the Xbox One X. It's 4K 60, and it plays very much like Devil May Cry, as you would expect. But the one thing is, PlayStation owners realized there wasn't a demo for them at the time. It just seemed to only be on Xbox consoles. Well, it looks like Capcom is actually flipping that around and saying, hey, we're actually going to be releasing a new demo, and it's coming out on both platforms February 7th. So yeah, you're going to have to wait till next month, about a month from now, but at least if you're a PlayStation owner, you'll get to try it out, and at that point, we can see how it runs there as well. But I'm liking what I'm seeing from Devil May Cry 5, minus those microtransactions that are in there. A single-player game with microtransactions that do link to progression because you're buying orbs to, level up faster and whatnot and get weapons quicker and moves. That seems a bit much, so we'll see how much that works into progression. I'm going to be playing this game when it comes out, so I'll be sharing my thoughts on it as I have played the older Devil May Cry games, specifically 3. I liked 3 a lot. 4 was alright, although when they did the 4 special edition, they threw in those microtransactions in there as well. So 5 technically is not the first time that they have done this with those microtransactions in a single-player style game. So we'll see how intrusive those things are. But you can at least try it out for yourself with a demo for free February 7th. Also, keep an eye on Bandai Namco in 2019, specifically with Google, because they put up this tweet here that says, "Thank you for inviting us, Google. We're excited to work with you in 2019 to make video games more fun for everyone." Because as soon as I saw this with Bandai Namco talking about Google, I immediately thought of Project Stream, which of course is Google's streaming service. They tried something with Assassin's Creed Odyssey. It seemed to go over pretty well with Ubisoft, as of course Ubisoft's already interested in streaming services, and with Project Stream actually performing pretty well when I was playing it, it looks like maybe Bandai Namco is going to try something with it. I'm not really sure what else they would do in collaboration, and now all these third-party companies are interested in streaming, as it lets them reach an audience without having to go through a console manufacturer's ecosystem and then give them a fairly large cut of 30%. I get why all of these companies that don't make consoles are all of a sudden interested in streaming. And Project Stream linked with Bandai Namco could lead to some interesting results. We'll have to see if we get any announcement on that. And guys, some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. We're starting with my most anticipated game currently. I guess Kingdom Hearts is up there as well, because I want to check that game out after playing the second one back in 2005. Now I'm going to check out the third one, but Resident Evil 2 Remake, I think it's on a lot of people's radars. It looks awesome. Like, it looks like they've spent a lot of time with this game. And we talked about a rumored demo that was happening after it was found as a 30-minute demo that was found, I believe, on like the Xbox store and everything. And it looks like that is a thing. It is happening, and it's coming to both platforms. They actually put out a quick trailer kind of for it. I mean, it's a demo with a trailer, so there you go. And it's called the one-shot demo. And yes, that means that you get 30 minutes to play it. It's coming to PS4, Xbox One, and Steam, by the way, January 11th. So we're going to try it on a bunch of different platforms, it looks like. I'm sure we'll also get plenty of comparisons and everything. Apparently, it's similar to the one that they've been taking around different shows and everything, where you're kind of playing as Leon. And 30 minutes doesn't feel like a lot, but because it's going to multiple platforms, I guess you can either keep reinstalling it or maybe just jump on other platforms and keep trying it. But it's going to be a window. So from January 11th to the 31st, it will be available. And then I guess at that point, it just kind of goes away. But they said you have 30 minutes to get as far as you can. So I wonder how long this demo actually is. Like, is there an end to it, or do you just keep playing through the game until the 30 minutes are up? Because that could lead to some people data mining and doing some interesting things. We've seen people unlock entire games from a single demo that was released, and it happened with Sega. I remember with Yakuza. It happened with Square with Final Fantasy. So we'll see how this demo goes over. Either way, I'm really excited because January 11th it's soon, right? It's a few days from now. We'll be able to try out Resident Evil 2 Remake, which is going to be awesome. Next up, let's talk about this odd port that was announced for the Switch, seemingly out of nowhere. It is from Capcom, and Capcom does like to port their games to a lot of different platforms. This one, Dragon's Dogma Dark Arisen, has actually been on the 360, the PS3. I played it a bit on the 360, actually. And then it went to the PS4 and the Xbox One. So we had it on the 360, PS3, 2012. Then we got the expansion like a year later, I believe, and then it went to the PS4 and the Xbox One in 2017. It also went to the PC between that, and now here we are in 2019, where it is coming to the Nintendo Switch, which is interesting to see this. Now, if you've never played this game, it's essentially a hack-and-slash action RPG, and in the beginning, you have a dragon that essentially steals your heart, and you have to go get it back. And getting further than that starts to spoil some of it, but it is actually a pretty good game. It got like average reviews, but to see this game on the Switch is pretty cool, because back with the 360 and the PS3, it struggled pretty badly, actually. It was like, it would see like 20 to 30 frames. 30 frames was high in that game on the 360 or the PS3. So at that time in 2012, I wouldn't have imagined that we'd be here like 7 years later and it's going to a portable machine, but that's where we are at this point. I think it makes sense for Capcom to do this, as I don't think the sales for this game have been like stellar, and it's what Capcom does. They always port stuff constantly, right? And to move it to the Switch, which is a pretty hot item right now, and games are selling on it, why not? I guess it didn't take them a ton to move it over. It is interesting to see a lot of these games going to mobile chipsets with the Tegra X1. I mean, a lot of these companies, I'm sure, didn't even think about it, that they were going to be doing this in 2017, 18, and 19, moving a lot of their big games to mobile chipsets, but here we are now, and they're doing that with Dragon's Dogma. And it looks like you have to wait about 3.5 months. It's coming April 23rd, so not too far out. And they did announce it only a few months before it's coming up, so you don't have to wait too long, which is nice. Still, though, interesting to see Dragon's Dogma, something that wasn't on any of our radars, showing up on the Switch, which makes me wonder what other random, weird third-party game could just get announced, because this was literally announced just like out of nowhere. It was just like thrown up on Twitter, and some press releases went out, and that was it. So you never know, I guess. Next up, we did hear about the NES games that are being added this month. They're showing up January 16th, so the app on your Switch main menu should just update randomly, or even, you might not even notice if it's in sleep mode. It'll probably just update. Mine did that at one point. It just randomly updated, and I went in and it had new games. And we're getting 2 games. Japan's actually getting 3, which was a bit weird that they're getting 3, but we'll go over them real quick. First one is Zelda 2, which is actually pretty cool to see that. Not everybody liked the game, but I think it'd be interesting to go back and revisit that one, especially if you haven't in a long time. The other one's Blaster Master, which okay. I mean, we already have a Blaster Master game on the Switch. Not that one exactly, a newer one, but to see Blaster Master show up was okay. And then if you're in Japan, or of course have access to the Japanese account that can access their Famicom online games, you would be looking at Joy Mech Fight, a game that I'm actually not familiar with at all. However, a lot of people were pretty excited for this one and pointing it out. But yes, Zelda 2, The Adventures of Link, and Blaster Master if you're outside of Japan. So I'm a bit confused about this. I don't think that's surprising for a lot of people to be underwhelmed by 2 NES games in January. I also am kind of holding out hope that we'll see one of those weird special edition games show up. You know how they keep doing that where like we got like a Metroid one randomly, the SP edition. I'd like to see them do more of those, and they never announce those, it seems. They just kind of show up. Like it's like, oh, and you also get the SP version of like Super Mario 3 or something. But I would like to see them do that as well. But 2 NES games here, 3 in Japan, but 2 in January doesn't feel like much. Like it really doesn't feel like a big push to get you to, you know, even open the app. I'm sure some people will be excited for something like Zelda 2, but I don't know if Blaster Master is setting the world on fire. And for people who are probably expecting maybe some bigger stuff, to look at this is, I don't know, it's not overly exciting. Maybe next month we'll see more. I know a lot of people are really asking for Super Nintendo games, and I think there's going to be a lot of excitement when that does eventually happen, as we all assume that it will, but I think most of us are ready like now for Super Nintendo games. Unfortunately, I have a feeling the time that Super Nintendo games are lined up and Nintendo is already kind of positioning them for is when a lot of these one-year memberships are going to run up, so in September. That's probably when we have to wait. They'll pull something really big out and drop it on the online shop like in, I guess, August, just to get you really hyped up, or even September to make you want to re-up for it. But 2 NES games, I don't know. I think they could have done much better, and there's always a chance that they announce something else or something else just randomly drops, but for now, 2 NES games for outside Japan, and in Japan, of course, you get 3, but Zelda 2 and Blaster Master. And in our last bit of news, let's talk a bit about CES and the retro scene, because believe it or not, a lot of retro game companies show up there. And by them, I mean Hyperkin, Retrobit, companies that make a lot of accessories for your Sega Saturn or your Super Nintendo or your Nintendo 64. They show up there in force with controllers. And I've been following Castlemania Games on Twitter, who's actually helped out with different accessories and stuff sending here. And they are there taking pictures of a lot of accessories. And there is quite a bit to keep an eye on here from places like Retrobit and Hyperkin. So let's just start taking a look at some of the pictures that they have on Twitter here. You're going to see right away Sega Saturn controller, because why not? And this is pretty cool, because this is all from Retrobit currently, where they're making new Sega Saturn controllers that you can plug in. They appear to be set for $19.99 with a release date of the end of February. Moving over, we have new N64 Tribute controllers. This is an Ocean Blue at $25, set for the end of March for a release date. These are all, again, from Castlemania Games. You can check him out there. And then we move over to an interesting setup. We just talked about those N64 controllers. Well, they also appear to be compatible with the Switch for whatever reason. Well, I mean, I guess that means that if we ever get Nintendo 64 games for the NES Online or just the online store, then there you go, you can use that. Although I'd like to assume that Nintendo would release their own controllers similar to the NES ones, but we'll see. They also have a new Zapper from Hyperkin that appears to work with their HDMI-enabled systems, which I assume means that it would work for your flat screen, which is odd because we've only seen a few instances where people have figured out solutions for that, and that actually is very expensive to do. They also have some wireless controllers to the 64, like the Admiral controller. Pretty awesome to see that, to have some wireless N64 controllers thrown in. We also have this really weird-looking Sega Saturn controller that, well, it has PS4 thumbsticks. It's a very weird-looking controller, I'll admit. I don't really know what to make of this one. I saw it and it confused me for a bit just looking at it, so I kind of sat there and looked at it for a while. But yes, there you go, a Sega Saturn-looking controller with thumbsticks. And then this picture was kind of interesting. This is the Retron DIY Retro Console for SNES, and it's a solder-free development kit that apparently you can build your own retro console from the ground up. That's from Hyperkin with a Retron DIY retro console kit for the Super Nintendo, which is very odd, but kind of neat at the same time. I'm curious what kind of audience would actually be into that, but it's kind of neat, I guess. Yeah, a lot of stuff at CES. Pretty cool to see all of those controllers. That, again, was from NES Games. You can check the link down in the sources to follow them, I guess, for more CES covers. So they're just snapping pictures all over the place of all kinds of cool retro stuff at CES 2019. And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed these videos, guys, hit the like button, really helps out. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about today, whether it is all these Nintendo announcements out of nowhere. People are concerned that there won't be a Direct at this point. We'll see about that because there's probably more stuff to announce outside of just those drops on Twitter. But having something like Dragon's Dogma show up and then Yoshi get dated and these NES games, let me know what you think about all those down below. And then what about the Resident Evil 2 remake demo? Are you ready for that? You're going to be playing it? Let me know about that as well, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.